Accenture. Let there be change.
Good morning, and welcome to the Women's Forum, presented by Accenture. Mental health and wellness every day. Reset, recondition, recommit. Please welcome Rosa Ramos Kwok, High Tech Board Vice Chair and Managing Director, JP Morgan Chase.
Good morning, everyone, and I hope that you all heard that same music that we were listening to, because it definitely got me started and pumped today. I am so sorry that I cannot be with you in person, coming to you virtually, so at a hybrid event. But I want to welcome all of you to the High Tech Women's Forum. And I want to thank Accenture for continuing their partnership with High Tech and their focus on this Latina Women's Forum. This forum has continued to take a deep dive into topics that are relevant to our Latina community within High Tech. What I have appreciated about these sessions is that it's a safe place. It is a place for us Latinas to share the hurdles that we face navigating our careers. And we all know that it sometimes is not easy. When we share what has worked for us in our journeys, the lessons that we have learned, some of the strategies, everything that we have adapted to along the way, we find the strength and the resolve to overcome some of those hurdles that we all face. I learn something new every single time I attend one of these sessions with our community of Latinas. We all get each other. We all get that we have something special in common, and that vantage point is really important to understand when we're thinking about strategies around our careers and how to cope with difficult times. The curator behind these sessions is the incomparable Nelly from the Bronx, Nelly Borrero. She is a powerhouse behind these sessions. She needs no introduction. And for those of you who have not had the pleasure of meeting Nelly, you will soon know what I'm talking about. Nelly's that force behind our community. Her passion for inclusion, for diversity and equity is off the charts. Nelly is a fellow High Tech board member and a managing director of inclusion and diversity at Accenture. And I can go on and on about her accolades, but the one thing that I'd have to say, or the number of things that I appreciate about her, but what I appreciate most about Nelly is how genuine and authentic she is. Again, she's from the Bronx. Come on, she's a fellow New Yorker. You're going to get what you see is what you get, and what you get is Nelly Borrero every day, all the time. She cares deeply about our community and is one of the strongest advocates for Latinas that I know. I am proud to be her colleague on the board and to have her in my corner. Nelly, thank you for hosting this session, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Rosa. As you know, I've been very sentimental lately. You almost made me cry. So you almost took me off my game to kick off this session. But thank you. I appreciate you and admire you so much. And thank you for all you do for the community and for High Tech specifically. So hello, everyone. I join Rosa in welcoming all of you to this session today. For those of you that are joining for the first time, welcome. You will see the power of this event. And for those of you that are returning, welcome back. You've heard me say before how I am a huge fan of High Tech and a huge fan of this particular event. So as I start thinking about where we are and where we have been in this journey, I want to go back to 3 months with Carolina Cardoso, who you'll get to experience today, who is a co-curator of all these events as well. We were having a conversation about the topic, and she suggested that we not only focus on mental health because it's critically important to everyone around the world, but also because the month of July is the month where we are celebrating the National Minority Mental Health Month. And I say celebrating because we have to get to a point where we start to feel positive about talking about mental health. So I am extremely bummed not to be there in person today. I will admit that I was so looking forward to seeing everybody in person. I was looking forward to sharing the stage with Dr. Tam, but she's probably going to be better off with Carolina anyway, because they're going to have a wonderful conversation. But let me take the minute that I have left to just talk to you about how timely this is, this conversation for me personally. We go through our journey, we understand our roles, we understand our responsibilities, we understand where we sit, not only professionally, but within our family structure. And I had no idea 3 months ago when I was talking to Kaina about this, that I would be faced with decisions in my life where I'm experiencing disruption. And I'm experiencing disruption because my otherwise 87-year-old, very independent, social, energetic mom has had a health issue that has caught us by surprise, that has rendered her to the point where she can't do the daily activities. And we have a lot of things that we have to work through and manage through health-wise, and a lot of other things that, get complicated in the process. What I understood on June 12th was that my life was being disrupted, but that no one would take the priority place of my mom at that moment. That doesn't mean that at that moment I didn't feel like I was going to give up things that were critically important to me, and that I wasn't going to feel guilty about having to step away for some things. But what became clear at that moment was a conversation that I had a week ago with Dr. Tam and Carolina. And what they did was they extended me a lot of grace. And we all need grace when we're going through disruption in our lives. We all need those people to surround us. And when I said, look, I may not be able to make it in person, they both immediately were like, absolutely, we understand. But what I share with them, that I'll share with all of you, is the fact that as a Latina woman, I understand the expectations of me for my family. I understand sometimes the heaviness of it, the lightness of it, the love of it, the frustration of it. I get all of it, right? And I was having a conversation with a colleague, a dear friend of mine too, about 3.5 weeks ago, who is not a woman of color. And I had to cancel an event with her as well. And she said, oh, Nelly, don't worry, call this service and you can have someone come and take care of your mom, bathe your mom. And I was horrified. And I said, oh, good Lord, no. These are conversations that maybe months from now we'll need to have. These are conversations and decisions we'll need to make. But in the moment, we're talking about my very elegant, distinguished, loving, amazing mom that I would never bring a stranger into our home to the things that are so private and so personal. So right there, I understood a cultural sort of disconnect as well. So as we dig in today, what I'm going to ask all of you is to be open to sharing, to hearing, to understanding. Let's get to a place that we can talk about these challenges that we have and these responsibilities, what choices we have to make. So on the agenda, we're going to hear from Julie, who is an amazing colleague, and she's going to do a centering activity to get us in the mode, in the space. Then we're going to have the fireside chat with Carolina and Dr. Tam, and they'll do great introductions about their incredible journey. Then we'll come back before we end to have mindful moments, again with Julie, and then I will close it up and we'll carry on as new, refreshed individuals, very focused on the advocacy of mental wellness and mental health. So Julie, over to you.
Thank you so much, Nelly. And hi, everyone. It is such an honor to be here. How are you all doing today? Really? I know that this group is capable of a little bit more. How are you all doing today? Okay, that feels a little bit better. So my name is Julie Wilkes, and I have the honor of being a colleague of Nelly's and Dr. Tam's and Carolina's, and I am our North American Wellbeing, Resiliency, and Disability Lead at Accenture. And I am going to take you through a short centering activity to allow us to really be able to take in all of the great stuff that you're going to receive today. Because when we get our mind and our bodies in alignment, there's some magic that happens. All right, so you ready to create some magic today? All right. So I want you to, first of all, put your phone, your things down. Let your body just kind of be free to sit in your chair. And I want you to bring your shoulders over your hips in line with your knees over your ankles, your feet flat to the floor. Unless you're like me, sometimes my feet, slightly under 5 feet, sometimes my feet don't always get to the floor. But if yours do, come to the feet flat to the floor. Your back is pressed against your chair. And I want for you to think about just taking your shoulders and bringing them back. You know, our daily activities of typing and texting have overdeveloped our scapularis and tightened through our pectoralis. So we want to sort of just bring this back into a nice, strong alignment. And I want you to either close your eyes if you're comfortable, or if that doesn't make you comfortable, then all I want for you to do is fixate your gaze on something that won't distract you. And I want you to take a couple of deep breaths. Take a little bit longer inhale. Stay for your exhale. And I want you to scan your body as if you had an X-ray machine that could give you a complete readout as to what's happening right now. And I want you to decide on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being completely relaxed and 10 being incredibly tense, where you are right now. There is no judgment to that number. It's just your number right now. My goal in the next couple of minutes will be that your number gets 1 step closer to 1. I don't need you to be at a 1. Let's just take any tension off a little bit so that we can receive the information a little bit better today. So now what I want for you to do is start at your feet. And I'm going to call this a visual breath massage. I want you to point and flex your toes and heels. Even if you have great shoes on, just point and flex your toes and heels. If you can scrunch up your toes, go ahead. And then on the exhale, relax your feet. Do the same thing again, but now we're going to circle our ankles. Stimulate your calf and your shin. Engage, and then on the exhale, relax from the knees below. Come up through your quadricep and your hamstrings, the top of your legs. Squeeze them. That may center you in your chair a little bit more. Tighten your abdominals. Exhale, relax. Now come up through your lower core, that place where we connect with our gut instinct. I want you to pull in that lower core, that space between your 2 hip bones, and engage that. Remember that your gut will tell you everything. Trust yourself. Come up through your abdominal wall, lift your rib cage, open your heart, roll your shoulders back again. Imagine your shoulder blades dropping into your back pockets. Lengthen your back, placing space in between each of your vertebrae, just so that your body decompresses itself. And then exhale, relax your torso without leaning forward. Shake out your arms, your fingertips. Be aware of your neighbor. Don't want to hit your neighbor. Or maybe you do. I don't know your neighbors. No, I'm just kidding. Shake out your arms. Drop your chin side to side, loosening your neck, releasing any of that tension that gets inflamed as we sit with bent hips all day long. I want you to imagine that you just had a baseball cap on, and it was 2 sizes too small, and you just took it off. And your head relaxed. Come to your beautiful face. Maybe you could move it around, scrunch it up, and then relax it. Your cheeks, your eyes, your nose, your lips, every part of your face releases. And come to your mind. Imagine a website where it has a banner where the words scroll off, not to return. That's your thoughts right now. Let's just put those to the side. Clear your mind. And then lastly, let's come to the heart. Check in with your heart. Is it feeling heavy today? Is it tense? Do you have worries, thoughts, emotions, joys, triumphs? How does your heart feel? Can you take the next 3 exhales and feel your heart softening, releasing, relaxing? Now I want you to scan your entire body again like you have that amazing X-ray. Is there anything else that's still holding on to your tension, to your stress? Because we want you to be all in today, bringing your whole best into what you do here, to how you listen, to how you engage, how you learn, and how you love all those around you today. So if you find any space that may be getting in your way, I want you to take a moment to try to release that space for yourself. You could do a stretch, you could just exhale into that space, or you could just acknowledge that you're letting it go right now. It could be a thought. It could be something in your hands, in your heart, in your hips, in your knees. As we finish off, your body should have relaxed a little bit, but your mind is more alert. This is our best self coming into what we do with a relaxed body, an alert mind, and now finishing off with a grateful heart. Can you think of someone or something that you're just so grateful for today? Find that joy of even thinking about that. When we think of good things, we boost our serotonin and our dopamine that immediately allows us to feel joy. I wish you a wonderful day ahead filled with relaxed body, alert mind, and a joyful, grateful heart. If you practice in a way where you bring your hands to your heart, feel free to do that with me. Elsewise, you can keep your hands by your side. I wish you love, I wish you peace, I wish you joy, but most of all, I wish you an amazing day ahead filled with moments that matter to you. Namaste. May the best in me honor the best in you. Let's have a great day, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. I am Carolina Cardoso. I'm super excited to be here with you, but also equally excited to be with you, Dr. Tam. It's so important to be having this conversation in this forum as we heard Nellie and Rosa speak to it. But before we get started, I want to create some space to invite you to share a little bit about who you are and what you do and get this started.
Glad to. Thank you, Carolina. Nellie, it's good to see you virtually. I'm giving you a hug right now. And hello, everybody. It's good to see your faces. Can we just give a little round of applause for Julie in that exercise? I feel so full right now being in the room with you. Thank you, Julie. Hi, everybody. I go by Dr. Tam. I say my full name. It's Tamara Duperval Brownlee. And I say that intentionally because I'll tell you a little bit of all of me. I am a child of Haitian immigrants born in Chicago, where I've lived most of my life. And ever since I was knee-high to a grapevine, I wanted to be a physician, so I'm living my dream in doing that. I am a family physician. I have been a family physician for 25 years, despite my youthful appearance. And my North Star has always been about allowing my skills to reflect my faith to enable people to live healthy and well. And for many years, it's been about the one-on-one interaction with people so that I can address the issues that they have physically and mentally and emotionally so that they can live well. And now in this wonderful experience at Accenture, I get to be the doc to nearly 710,000 people across the globe thinking about well-being and health in the workplace for highly talented, motivated people who are navigating what we're all navigating, this intersection and integration of work and life and wanting to show up to be their best selves in the workplace. So it's been my honor. I think literally in 3 days will be my 1-year anniversary with Accenture, and it truly has been a pivotal moment and journey in my career. I'm a wife of 20 years to Clarence. I'm a bonus mom, a glam mom to 2 wonderful kids, Brendan and Brielle, and I am thrilled to be with you today. I call myself Latina adjacent, given my cultural heritage. So hola, mi hermana. It's good to be with you on today.
Thank you so much. I mean, this topic is so personally important to me. As we think about our journeys as women, as Latinas, as bonus moms, as mothers, as daughters, as sisters, knowing that there's part of that journey, so many stories that we can anchor on and know that, as we talked about earlier, we plan our lives forward but understand it backward. So, part of, in your role as Chief Health Officer, what are some of the top priorities or the things that you're seeing that we're addressing, not only within the walls of Accenture, but as we look at more broadly in industry and companies as they look at this mental health and well-being topic?
Yeah, it's extremely impactful and I think an important question that all employers need to think about right now. in the year that I've been in post as the inaugural Chief Health Officer for Accenture, I did a few things. One, like many people, within the first 6 months, it was really helping to navigate around the pandemic. We were in the throes of the Delta wave, if you remember that, a year ago. Rather devastating, not only to us here in the States, but across our company globally, and we needed to think about like not only how do we keep people safe, but building the resilience of the organization, so that we can keep going and keep moving forward. But because of my role, I had to think about the people, and what do they really need? And it was beyond the physical. It was thinking about the toll. I don't know about you, but since year one of the pandemic, I have been internally grieving, I think, for the collective loss that we've all experienced because of the pandemic. I personally have lost people that are close to me because of the pandemic. I know you probably all have too, or we're 1 or 2 degrees of separation for that. And I feel like collectively our world is due for a great sigh, a great release, of recovery, from our loss. But how does this show up, in the workplace? And what are the things that strategically I'm going to need to accelerate, innovate, get rid of, promote, in order to ensure that we can keep going, as Accenture and deliver on the promise that we have to our people, our communities, and the clients that we serve. So we took an external scan, and everyone is talking about this, and everybody is seeing it. We know the statistics, right? It used to be, 1 in 5, that were experiencing some sort of mental health issue. I think at its height, maybe a year ago, about 63% of people who work, said, I've experienced something that would likely qualify as a mental health disorder or distress, in the workplace, that is impacting me significantly. So this is not uncommon. I always look for the grains of optimism in hard things. And the one thing I'm grateful for is the attention to the people of the business that is now happening across all industries across the entire globe. My assertion that I've shared internally with our organization is never before has the health of the business been more reliant or dependent on the health of the people. Full stop. And it's not to make the work that I do more important, but it is to realize that all businesses really need to depend on the health of their people. We're seeing it in people who are going on leaves more so than ever, people who are experiencing mental distress, physical distress while on the job, not being able to have the well of reserve to be resilient, to handle the things of stress. I don't know about y'all, but I'm a type AAA personality. If it's to be done, I can handle it. But there are many moments during the past couple of years I was just like, maybe not today. I need to really think about it in a different way. So that is really the narrative that we're seeing, Carolina, and I think that companies are realizing they need to double down on the investment of what they need to do for their people and to bring it home to our audience in person and virtually, women. And especially those women who are sometimes marginalized, silenced, not seen, and ensuring that they're taken care of as well.
I think that's such an important point because as you talk about those stats, I was so surprised by seeing that 90% of people have somebody that they've experienced themselves or somebody else has experienced mental health and having to take those pivots and time off. And knowing that there's so many people who are doing it, the question becomes, why are we openly talking about it at work? And what are some of the things that we should be doing to structure and have those courageous conversations?
It's hard, and it's decades in the making, right? We'll take it culture first, it's reflecting and seeing all you beautiful faces, and I saw all the flags that we all represent. But it was true in my family too. It's about being strong, and any admitting of being weak or that you have something that isn't right with you mentally, is an association that you're crazy. God forbid we use that word, and in a reflection that you're not as strong or capable to be able to do the work that's in front of you. That was yesterday. We need to just go ahead and let that go. But there is that bias and that stigma that we're not allowed to talk about it. I'm grateful for Gen Z. I'm probably the first person to say that out loud, but I'm grateful to Gen Z because they are showing up and saying, look, I am here to do the work, fine, but I also want an environment that would allow me to thrive, be able to keep my peace, live my best life, and my mental well-being is extremely important for me to be the best performer in this space. Thank you, because they opened up, I think, a platform where everyone can actually have that opportunity to speak and say, yeah, you know what, I actually want that too. We're all beat down a bit, from everything that's happened, whether it's the pandemic, global events, the economy, supply chain, no matter what your industry, and it's fair, for us to say that I take this wherever I go, including the workplace. I'm so pleased at leaders like Nellie and others within our organization that have been vulnerable, transparent, and empathetic to realize that if I'm experiencing, then the people I lead are experiencing it. So creating psychological spaces where we can be a bit more vulnerable, and in the team huddle start with, hey y'all, it's great to see you, let's check in. I'm less than ideal today. I'm just going to let you know that, but I want to know how you are, and opening that up so that people can be able to voice where they are. Mm-hmm. Can do wonders, I think, for creating that. And the more we see leaders and faces that look like ours being more vulnerable, I think the more that we're able to diminish that. We also have to talk about, access and barriers to be able to getting the help as well. It's something that I'm extremely passionate about. I've always been passionate about as a physician. My work has been about health equity to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to get healthy and be well. And we have to realize that it's not the same for everybody, and making sure that we have culturally competent, culturally humble care is important, and as I think about this audience and what high tech is representing, having culturally competent care for Latino women, Latino men is not as available, as we'd like to think. And so there's definitely a capacity, I think, a certain energy that we need to have in ensuring that that's available as well.
Yeah, Nellie touched on the cultural differences and how that plays into even the way that she's taking care of her mom. And as we think about our own personal journeys and where we've had to take a step back, and you use the word vulnerability, because it does come with the fact that we have to be vulnerable to create those conversations with people. So, as we think about our own stories and those who we love and those who we're leading in our teams, it's so important to create that space to, in an open environment, to ask that question, but also check in individually, to check in with individuals. So thank you so much for that. Another thing that we often are asked or talk about is, what are the things that when we think about nutrition and as a physician, we're so, many of us are like back-to-back calls and we're getting the cookies, the chips, or soda pop, and, really don't take the time to eat something healthy. How important is nutrition to the mental state and the mental health and well-being?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question, because it's vitally important. We all know we have to eat, right, in order to keep our bodies together, but I have to admit it's probably been more recent years that I've given more thought and I think research into really understanding the link between nutrition and mind performance. I'll confess my sins. I love crunchy things. I love chips. I love fries. That is my go-to. Any sweet people in the room? Okay, I see hands. Great. And it's natural. Certainly when we're tired, if we've not had enough sleep, it's actually a physiological thing that our bodies will crave carbohydrates, in order to provide that quick and easy fuel. But what if I were to tell you that there are direct links between the choices that we make and what we put in our bodies directly to our mental health? So it's affecting, our ability to handle anxiety or anxious moments, feeling depressed, if you are experiencing any problems problems with attention or hyperactivity or being able to focus, it is directly linked, to your ability to eat. Within our organization, we launched a program actually just a couple of months ago called Nourish to Thrive with our partners with Thrive Global, that is all about cognitive nutrition in this space. It's fascinating. It's really, it's not about a diet. It's not about, eating so that you can achieve a particular goal, except to be mentally sharp. And who doesn't want to be mentally sharp? What I was finding is that I would always get like the 2-3 p.m. bonk. It's just like, I'm an early person. I'm up at 5. I'm making my list. I'm checking it twice. 2 o'clock, I'm just like, I just can't. And part of it is because I skipped meals. I wasn't great with water intake unless I was exercising. I wasn't really conscious about the protein mixes, and those things that I needed for my body to be able to feel right throughout the day. So it's game changing. If I had to plug something, I'm gonna suggest a nutritional psychiatrist who I had a chance to meet this year. Her name is Dr. Uma Naidu. She's out of Harvard, and she's a psychiatrist by background, but also a trained chef. And in her practice and years, she realized this very powerful connection between food and mental health, and actually uses food to treat her patients, with psychiatric issues. She said, there's a great book out there, like This Is Your Brain on Food. I'm plugging it to everybody because it's transformative, so get it, download it, and I think you'll learn a lot, in terms of that association.
I see everybody jotting it down.
Yeah,
so
This Is Your Brain on Food.
I definitely have to practice that, and I think it's a cumulative effect. I mean, it's you start in the morning and you skip the lunch or you skip the breakfast, and then you find yourself it's 4 o'clock and I haven't eaten anything. So I think that's one thing that we all can do and commit to doing. Even starting after today, we leave here, let's go get some fruit and pile it in. In a little bit, we're going to have Julie come up and share some practices and strategies that we can all take away. But we were really intentional about the naming of today's session, which is a focus on mental health and well-being every day.
Yeah.
And so as we think about the everyday, it's knowing that, as we look at that construct of how do we reset, what do we need to recondition, and what do we need to recommit? What does that theme or those elements of mean to you?
It is resonant to me in a number of ways. First, as I think about my practice as a physician, I have always felt and believed, and as part of my training, that all these elements of our health are connected. So it's our emotional, mental health, it's our physical health, obviously. It's our relational health, how we feel socially connected. It's a grounding with purpose. Like, do I feel like I'm a part of something that's doing something meaningful, in my work, in my community, in my family? And then, and these days, even financial health, we have to think about it. No matter your earning status, that's important as well. So this theme is, I think, resonant, and I think to that framework and that grounding the determinants, if you will, of health, and certainly how we're leading at Accenture and thinking about our employees' health and well-being. But at its heart and its core, it does start with your mind and your mindset. And you definitely, you're all well-trained people, and you've embraced, I'm sure, the principles of a growth mindset and being able to, have that in your particular life. I think you almost have to have that mindset and capture it for yourself. If there's anything that we've learned about the pandemic, it's this: there's only one you. Tomorrow is not promised, and you can't pour from an empty cup. Right? I think the pressures and the stresses that we're experiencing as women who work, women who are often the point persons for being caregivers, is that there's a lot on us right now. But if you don't put the oxygen mask on first for yourself, it's going to literally kill you. And I don't mean this in a very scary, spooky way, but it is sobering. So having a mindset and practice of nurturing yourself and caring for yourself, all the dimensions of you, is not to be guilty of. It's not to feel like you're going to sacrifice all your other accountabilities or responsibilities, but it's part of your duty to show up to do what you're called to do on this planet. So for me, it means that I must start my day. I'm a woman of faith, so I start my day in prayer, in reading scripture, in meditating and thinking about, okay, Tam, what are you here on the planet for today? And what is it that you want to be able to accomplish? At some point, it incorporates movement, because I got to take care of this 51-year-old body of mine, because I want to live for several more decades and I got things to do. It means interacting meaningfully with my people, my circle, which includes those who are at home with me, including my furry son Axel, as well as my fellow employees, across the globe who I'm interacting with through that computer screen, for several hours throughout the day. And if I don't do those things every day, I'm less than the ideal Tam, and we have so much on us right now. Somebody was mentioning that we heard a conversation about what this virtual world has done, that we're on all the time. We got so much access. To which I said, that's true. That's part of the tax of being able to call to the table. But again, I say, prioritize you. Making sure you're having that commitment, that ritual, that mindset of caring for you first, so that you'll be able to pour out more meaningfully. And often when I have these kind of conversations with audiences, I challenge them to think about, we're still in July, so beginning of a new quarter. For some of you, it's the beginning of a fiscal year. It's not too late to think about your mission, for the next quarter. You've got a little under 13 weeks. What are some goals that you want to put for yourself, for your own personal mission to recommit, to recharge, to reset for yourself, for you as an individual? For me, it's making sure that movement is a part of it. I'm training for a physical event in October, so making sure I sleep is very important. I need to make sure I'm making room for that. I'm drinking water, I'm taking time to get outside and letting some vitamin D come upon me, in that regard, and connecting meaningfully. What's your mission? And it's sometimes just the smallest thing, a 1%, if you add that cumulative, can make a great difference. So I'm going to challenge you what your 1% is.
I love that. And how much should we be sleeping?
Sleep is really dependent on the individual in that regard. The generalities is that 7 to 9 hours for adults today. I would say determine what it is for you. I love data. I don't know about you who are techies in the room, but I love data and understanding how I'm performing. I wear actually 3 different smart devices on a regular basis. I have an Oura ring, I have a Whoop underneath this brace here, and what they tell me is, how I'm sleeping, during the course of the night. What's important is realizing not as much as the hours, although the hours are important, but how much deep sleep are we getting? Deep sleep is important for recharging the body and your muscles, and REM sleep is the one that refreshes. It's the washing machine for your mind, to make sure that you're able to let go of those things, recycle, thoughts, make space for new areas of connections, creativity, focus, accomplishment. So making sure you have the right proportions of REM sleep, deep sleep. Get something that'll give you feedback so you know where you're at. I see in the audience, and I'm imagining virtually, people are just like, I don't get enough sleep. I hear you. And it's probably, because you haven't thought about it. You don't know the data. You don't know that there are things that you can do to nourish and curate and cultivate that environment of sleep. So do something so that you can actually understand what that is for you and make a commitment for better sleep.
Awesome. I see that we're almost at time here. I'm seeing the clock here. So I wanted to pause to see, do we have any questions either from the audience or from those who are joining us virtually? Okay. Please join us at the mic so everyone can hear you, and the folks who've joined us virtually can hear the question.
Hi, Doctor. I just wanted to say I've enjoyed listening to what you shared and really appreciate it. I did want to ask, when you talked about the nutritional psychiatrist, were there any insights that you came away with that were surprising or eye-openers?
Yes, I would say, the book is dense and it's very rich, but I would say from an intellectual perspective, some of the insights, I think that even being intentional and specific about having certain elements within your diet that are directly relatable, like you eat this impacts this, as it pertains to, for example, mood disorders, depression, and that it's not, this is science that's really grounded in research and conducted trials. It's not, fluffy, by any stretch of the imagination. So, for example, making sure that you're in a place of eliminating those foods that are more highly processed and sugars and those effects, for example, on mood and those fluctuations. I think that was very intellectually stimulating and really unknown for me, that a prescribed diet, that has certain elements can actually help people out of depression, can help out of anxiety, ADHD, and other mood disorders. It's extremely fascinating.
Fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question.
Okay, we have time for one more.
Quizás vamos a cerrar con broche de oro. Maybe we're going to close out with a wash of gold, but it's more of a challenge, Dr. Tam. By the way, I'm Annalise Saldana from our San Francisco office. And it's something that if it's not impacting everybody in this room right now, it will. And it's really real, and there is a tremendous taboo and stigma about it, but we have to, as women, acknowledge what's happening, and more importantly, be there and help others. And I don't think it's something that is even remotely talked about in our families. It's taboo, but definitely in the professional world, it's taboo. It's the change and the tremendous impact it has on women holistically. And it's very real. And many women struggle with that because they don't know where to get help, who to talk to, or even acknowledge that on any given day, I'm not my whole self. So maybe it's more of a challenge, Dr. Tam, at Accenture, because as someone who has gone through it, I think I'm still going through it, unfortunately. It's a lot, years sometimes in the making. I've seen it, and I've had to be there for colleagues, for women who are going through it. So your thoughts on that?
Yeah, thank you for elevating that. I think it's pertinent and it's timely. I feel like this is an era of women. Our organization has, I think, a lot of wonderful leaders within and ambitions. In particular, our goal for gender parity by 2025 is outstanding, that we have a CEO, CFO, a CHRO that are women is phenomenal. And there's been so much, I think, to elevate that I think the gravy that we need to add is creating spaces so that we can talk about issues of women, on a regular basis. And this is not critical. I think that there's actually been a lot of work to be done, but I do feel like that this is really a challenge for many organizations to think about, because we're here, right? And we're not going to go away, and thinking about the issues and needs of women throughout all of our seasons of life is going to show up in the workplace, in particular, as we are ending our time of reproduction, and what its impact is. I've been a part of conversations, for those of you not a part of the Accenture family, where we've actually talked about, menopause and its impacts, and thinking about how that impacts how we're setting boundaries on our calendars, or even thinking about our benefits for women so that they are able to function fully, even at times when they're not able to show up. 100% is very real. So I thank you for that. It's a reminder for me to definitely keep it on the forefront, but a challenge for everyone else, that no matter where you are, you're going to get there, eventually, and that we need to be unafraid and unabashed in talking about it. So thank you.
I think that's a wonderful way for us to challenge ourselves and close. I'll say some of the nuggets of wisdom that I've gotten along my journey has been what Nellie started with, which is extending grace. It's also creating space to have this type of conversation. And lastly, be intentional about the pace. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and we sometimes have these demanding things, and we just have to create that intentionality and purpose to be asking yourself, what is the mission? So with that, I thank you. Thank you, Dr. Tam. Thank you all for joining. And I'm going to invite Julie Wilkes to come up and share some of these strategies that we can put into place today. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, that was amazing, and I love that idea of being nourished to thrive in our lives. You know what the definition of thrive is? It's to be doing well today, but to be planting the seeds so that you know you'll be doing even better tomorrow. And this is to thrive. And so I think it is our hope that you take these nuggets of wisdom with you. Not everything will be relevant to each one of us, but you take those things that I know I'm going to go get that book and start looking up a few things for my own desires of improvement and betterment and inspiration. So I want you to just continue to take nuggets. I'm going to give you a lot right now. So what I want to start off by saying is, don't take everything. Take the things that sort of connect with you and you say, I could do that, or that's interesting, or I used to do that, and I really like how I felt when I did that. Leave the rest behind. So I'm a heart disease survivor. My life expectancy was 0. Today, I am 46, and the doctors have said my heart is nearly perfect. They said that I would never be able to survive past day 1 because of the condition of my heart. When my mom held me to say goodbye to me, my heart started to beat. They gave me back to the doctor. She gave me back to the doctors. My heart stopped. The doctors gave me back to her. It started again. So they said, keep her. She's obviously trying to live for you, but medically she can never survive. So just let her know that she's loved as long as she's here. And that has been a theme of my life, is let people know they're loved. That's truly what matters, that they matter to you. And so I know that the reason why I was able to have my heart continue to beat while I was in the arms of my mom is there was a connection greater than anything that any medical book, any science book, and I really respect, love, and dig deep into that data, into that science-based evidence as well. But there's just some things that we can't explain. So I want you to think for a moment about those things for you. Maybe it's that relationship that just knowing that human being is out there changes everything for you. Or maybe it's just, looking at the smile of your kid's face when you come home or they come home, or maybe it's your dog or cat or fish or whatever it is for you. We spend more time in those things because those are the moments that truly matter. Now, as we're bringing our best self into what we do, as you know, if you've been on an airplane, they always say, put your oxygen mask on first. And that's a really great way to think about things, although it is our human nature to want to give to others first. Right? Why is it that our time is the least valuable when we look at all the things we have to do in our day? We go to work, we take care of our families, we take care of our responsibilities, we pay our bills, we clean our house, we cook our food, we do whatever it is that we do. And by the time we get done with all those things, it's time to go to bed, and we didn't get our workout in, we didn't get our time to read our book, we didn't get our time to even make our favorite tea. Right? And so why is it that we flip-flop that? So what I really want you to have a message in today is if you can just pick one thing that you're going to reverse for yourself and put that into your day. Now, I have a chart on the screen here that talks about stress. Stress has become this bad word, but it is actually a very good word. Stress was created to help us. When I knew I was going to come onto this stage in front of this beautiful group and speak and share something, it was my hope that I say something today that is powerful for you. So my heart rate started to increase. Maybe my hands got a little bit sweaty, and my eyes opened a little bit more. It was because my body knew that I cared about this moment, and it sent the signals to say, show up. Sometimes, though, we feel like that makes us feel like we're nervous or scared, but truly it's our body showing up for us. If we're in the middle of a difficult place and we need to get out of it quickly, our body will help us. But sometimes that stress lingers on in our everyday everything. That stress is supposed to be there for special occasions to help us rise in the middle of something difficult or something beautiful and wonderful, but to help us. But if it has become your everyday norm, that's when we start to see physiological adaptations take place in the body that break us down, hurt us, make us feel fatigued, tired, angry, frustrated, you name it, however it appears in you. I have all those things. But so what we want to understand is that there's a great amount of stress that we can thank. But then when stress becomes a part of our everyday everything, it can break us down in ways that keep us back from being our best. In fact, there are 17 physiological adaptations that will start to take place in the body when your body is going through a stressful moment. And I won't go through all 17, although I wish I could because I think they're all so cool, but I'll tell you one or two of them because I think these are fascinating. Did you know when then you're creating too much stress hormone where the body says something is happening out there to my human? Because the body, you were just speaking about this, the body knows that there's a certain perfect amount of this hormone and this kind of reaction and your cellular function and your hydration and your oxygenation and all those things that your body's this perfectly tuned computer that says this is my human in perfect harmony. But when something is lingering too long out of balance, the body says something is happening, and it is my job to take care of my human. So it will do all of these things, and it thinks it's helping you, and sometimes it's not. But for example, when you have a lot of stress going on all the time and you're creating lots of adrenaline and cortisol, the body gets a signal that I don't know if my human is in a bad situation, I need to help them, or if they're just having a tough day at work. Whatever it is, I'm going to shut everything down. I'm going to slow down their systems, their healing systems, their energy systems, their metabolism systems. I'm going to stop processing the food in their belly to savor their food, to slow down their metabolism in case they need to ration their food. Maybe they're not going to be getting food. Maybe they're in a place where they don't have food right now. We're going to slow all that down. We're going to actually store fat around all of the vital organs, because what if something's happening where they're being injured or hurt? We need to protect those vital organs to keep our human alive, because that's what the body's goal is. Right? And so now we've stored fat all around the pancreas, spleen, kidneys, stomach, heart, and now we're stressed, and now we've gained belly weight, and now we're even more stressed. It's like this vicious cycle, right? And then we're tired and we're fatigued, and it's this whole thing. But here's the really cool thing, right? Right? When we can learn to understand and do that assessment within ourselves, like this is just a moment, and I can take a breath and I can walk away from it, or this is not a moment. This is longer than a moment for me. There's certain strategies that you can deploy for yourself to be your own advocate, so that you can decide where you are, how you want to manage yourself, to allow yourself to heal, restore, and bring your best self into what you do, not only for your job, not only for your family, but for you. So at Accenture, we partnered with Thrive Global, as Dr. Tam said, to create lots of great content. But one of the things that was really cool is that I had the opportunity to fly out to Stanford and work with some of the researchers out in Stanford, the neuropsychologists, neurophysiologists, to look at how can we help our people to understand their brains, their bodies, how they respond to stress better. Because we all hear stress is bad, try to take care of yourself, go take a walk, take a breath. We hear these things and we know they're good for us, but here's a really interesting set of questions. Why don't we do what we want to do? Why do we do what we don't want to do? Right? Like I want to go take a walk every day at noon, and I have the ability to. My neighborhood can allow me to do that. The weather is good. My supervisor says that's okay for me to do. I know I'll feel better. I know that my brain will be clear. All of those things. But do I do it? Why? I don't know why, right? Why don't we do that? We know it's a simple thing. Well, I'm going to give you really simple things you can do that are going to change everything about the way you feel. You just got to pick one and give it a try. But what this chart represents is each one of us receives stress in a different part of our brain. When we understand how we receive stress and how we respond to it, we don't have to fix anything. We're not broken. All we have to do is understand ourselves. So for example, I'm the first brain up there, the ruminator. When something doesn't go right for me, I'll keep thinking about it and thinking about it. I'll replay it. I'll have that conversation in my head 20 times to see if I could have had a different conversation. Yeah, I see some of you relating out there, right? So at one point, ruminating, one time thinking about it, replaying it, evaluating and evolving, that's healthy. But 20 times later, now that's just gotten in my way of my day. Now I've just put myself down, made myself feel insecure, made myself feel bad, right? Can you relate to that? So this is how my brain responds to stress. So all I have to do is understand that the moment that I start to ruminate more than 2 or 3 times, that's my point where I need to develop what we call a resiliency strategy, where I need to go step away and recognize that if I keep going and push myself forward, bad things are going to happen. And what I mean by that is I'm just not going to do my best at work. I might say the thing that I didn't mean to say. I might feel reactive or frustrated, or I might tell my partner something I didn't mean to say, and not my best. So I want you to think about that for you. I won't go into all of these because I want to give you the strategies, but I just want to let you know all of these different ways that we receive stress are there, and it's up to you to decide for yourself where do you fit. But there is a great quiz that's out there publicly for people to take. It's just a 5-minute quiz, and it's based on science. Over 1,000 MRIs were collected by Stanford neuro researchers in order to understand how our brain responds, and then to understand in that moment that we're responding in a way that's not helpful to us, how can we lift ourselves? So we have a quiz there. We're happy to share it with you. But it's out there publicly. You can find this. These are called our brain biotypes. All right, so here's what I want for you to think about. We all respond to stress differently. We know that stress can be good, but it also can pull us away from the things that help us the most. There's lots of different measures we can take to understand how we're stressed, what makes us stressed, what causes us to go in different directions. But I have found that there's just some really simple things that I can use with when I go. I get the honor of traveling all around the world to talk to people and about this very topic. And when I think about the different languages, the different cultures, the different ways to relate, this one works in every place I've ever been. And it's super simple. When we take that scale of 1 to 10, which I did for you at the beginning when we did our relaxation techniques, I want you to give yourself a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being relaxed, ready to go, joyful, happy. 10 is tense, tight, stressed, worried. At that very tightness, your whole body is receiving it, your head is receiving it. You're really in that high hemisphere of feeling overwhelmed. Our goal is for us to understand at any moment where we are. So you could just take a review of yourself right now. On a scale of 1 to 10, where do you feel right now? If your numbers are anywhere past like a 6, 7, that's a moment that you want to take just a few minutes to do something else, to reset you back. You don't have to be at a 1. That's unrealistic for us to be at a 1 all the time, although it's joyful and lovely when we are. That's most of the time when I'm laying on a beach or in a hot tub or somewhere relaxing, right? But most of the time, our lives are probably somewhere between 3 and 6, just managing the day-to-day, and those are okay. But when we know that we're hitting that 6 or 7, that's a time where we want to step back and say, what can I do for myself authentically? Like if you're not a meditator and I tell you to go meditate, you're not going to meditate, right? If you like to go walk your dogs, if you like to go, I'm going to give you lots of different things you can think about, but I'm going to give you them rapid fire. But I want you to pick 1 or 2. And throughout your day, as you're kind of jumping onto a call or as you're doing whatever you do, and you start to feel like, oh, my body is tense. Where am I right now? I need to go deploy one of these. Because here's what happens. I don't think that we so much have a resiliency issue. I get to lead up our resiliency efforts in North America for Accenture. I've assessed that I don't think that we, and I say we as Accenture, but also as a collective whole, most of the time, we don't have so much of a resiliency issue in our corporate workplace. What we have is the fact that we're too resilient. Right? So we just keep pushing ourselves. We keep showing up day after day after day. We just keep saying, oh, today was a tough day. I'll just be back tomorrow. I can't quit now. I can take a break after next quarter once everything dies down. But what if you've been at a 10 for too long? That leads to a lot of other things that are harder to recover from. If we can take these little bits and acknowledge where we are. So here's my strategies for you. First of all, Dr. Tam already talked about this, so I won't go into too much, but really nutrition. If you think about when you put an aspirin in your mouth and it enters your body, what happens? Hopefully your headache goes away within about 30 minutes. So something is happening in your body where it's taking what you put in and it's using it. So why do we think that food would be any different? Think about food as medicine. When you put it into your body, it's either going to empower you or pull you back a little bit. I always say there's no such thing as good or bad food, because if I wanted that cupcake, it's not a bad cupcake. It was a very good cupcake. But if I had a cupcake every day, then at some point that cupcake's not good for me because I'm not going to feel good anymore. Right? So we don't want to give these labels. We want to enjoy life. 80% of the time, it's about nutrition, energy, health. 20% of the time, fun, social, connective, right? Not be so hard on ourselves. So I'll move past this point for now, but I think that cookbook is a great one, or that book is a great one for us to all check out. But learning about herbs, learning about organics, learning about different things, helping your kids learn how to cook healthy, cutting up carrots. Have you ever tried this? It takes forever. I'm a bonus mom myself. Cutting up carrots into shapes. Okay. That's an all-day activity, by the way, okay? So, but doing things that you have fun and learn together. I know you're like, no, thank you. But this can truly be something that when we are stressed, our go-to is usually to go eat something sugary or crunchy or salty. And the reason is because that gives our brain a moment of comfort. Because when we're stressed, we're uncomfortable, and our brain is just saying, help me to find something that I know, that I like, and makes me feel okay in the moment. And that's why we choose those. So can we find things in our nutritional cabinet that allows us to have that same reaction, but maybe takes us into that space that helps us to feel good and feel restored? Rest. Now, I put up a chart here. Now, this may be for some, may not be for others, circadian rhythms. If you've ever understood circadian rhythms, this is the different parts of time. If you've ever woken up and you've just felt really rested, it might be because you got through all of your sleep cycles and you felt like, you know, we all have a different circadian rhythm. I get up every day at 7 o'clock and I jump out of bed, but if I have to get up at 5:45, I don't jump out of bed. There's a different sleep cycle that's happened for me, and I'm pretty routine about it. But they say that our body does a really great job every day of cleaning itself, all of the organs. It knows how to sort of just do a wash. So if you're ever uncomfortable or waking up in the middle of the night, it may be because your body is working extra hard on something, whether it's having to over-clean something, or maybe it's getting stuck because something isn't healthy and it's having to repair it more, or maybe it's because You ate something sugary right before you went to bed, and now it's getting that sugar burst, and it doesn't know what to do with it because you're sleeping, and it doesn't know why you're having all this energy while you're sleeping. The body gets some mixed signals. So really understanding our rest, and if you're waking up, if you're not sleeping well, that may be your body telling you something. It will always communicate well with you. Also, just remember a cooler environment. In fact, I think I read somewhere 63 degrees. I'm like, oh, I can't. But trying to sleep in a cooler environment is really ideal. Having your different layers to peel back, maybe having a fan, allowing yourself to have the most comfortable pillow. Maybe that's what you do this weekend is just go buy the most comfortable pillow you've ever used in your life. Something to make you feel I am worthy of a good night's sleep. I want to lay back. Last night I went into hotel bed pillows are so nice. I stayed in a hotel. I just lay back and I went, oh yes, why don't I have this at home? So that's how you should feel every night. Gratitude. Now this may seem like a Hallmark card, and I don't always like to say things that feel like cheesy or whatever, but I'm going to tell you that whenever we don't know where to start, wherever we're like, I have all these things, I want to do something, I don't know where to begin, this is the one. This is the one because they say that when we are grateful for someone and we tell them, we increase their serotonin and dopamine, those positive chemicals in their brain, by up to 19%. I don't know why not 20. It's 19 though, okay? So I remember it, 19%, but it does the exact same thing for us. So how cool is that? If we're stuck and we're feeling stressed and overwhelmed, when you truly think of something authentically that you're grateful for, and bonus points if you can actually say it out loud, tell someone, or exclaim it, you change the physiology in your brain. You change those hormones, you change that. So if you're ever stuck, but sometimes when you're stuck and you're kind of in a rut, it can feel very inauthentic to be like, okay, I'm having the worst day ever. I'm feeling very stressed. I'm feeling very overwhelmed. Now let me think of something I'm grateful for. It doesn't feel all that natural, right? So what you have to do is really think to yourself, yes, but I'm so glad that I've got my partner. I'm so glad that I work for a company who says this is okay for me to feel this way sometimes. I'm so glad, right? To find those moments of truth for ourselves changes everything about how we feel and shifts us forward. Move your body. So moving our body, I want you all to just stand up right now. Don't worry, I'm not going to turn this into a Jane Fonda 1984 fitness activity. Although, have you seen her lately? She's 85. Oh my good, whatever she does, I'm doing it because she's 85 and looks like she's 45. So, all right, just you standing up alone, just change your physiology of how you feel. All right, so for those of you that you can do this, if you have an outfit on that doesn't, I want you to try to touch your toes. Don't hurt yourself, please. We don't take out liability. All right, yes, okay, come here, yes, good. Now, I want you to bring your arms out and just circle. Be careful of your neighbors. Yep, you may want to turn. Yep. Now, camera, gentlemen, do we have this? We want to make sure everybody gets on camera for this one. Okay, now reverse it back. All right, what we're doing is the back has 8 muscles in it. They get tense and tight as you sit. It has actually more than that, but the 8 that really connect into the vertebral column. And so what we're doing is we're trying to release those through the scapulars, through the shoulder, the deltoids, reaching down and giving it permission to just release and relax. Now I call this my magic trick. In a moment, I should go on America's Got Talent with this one. But in a moment, you're gonna go down and touch your toes and see if you can go any further. Typically, you should find some more space. Now, there's always someone who's like, no, it didn't work for me. Then you can try it again. But I'll tell you, what happens is our back becomes tense and tight from sitting. We just released our back. Our whole body probably went from, if we were at a 6, we might be at a 5. Our body just released a little bit. Those kind of movements, getting up throughout your day when you have, now let me have you do one more. Bring your arms out wide, like you're laying in the sun. Sunscreen on, of course. Okay, now look right, look left. Is one elbow in front of you more than the other? If so, that means that shoulder is more tense. We flap our wings. Yep, very nice. Again, I know some of you think, oh goodness, am I on camera? Some of you are. Here's 4, here's 3, here's 2, here's 1. Pull back out, look right, look left. They should have realigned better. That means if one shoulder is out of alignment with the other, your body is going to be out of alignment. It's going to just feel crunchy. Your back is going to get pulled. Your vertebral column is going to get pulled. Your nervous system is going to get taxed on. You're just not going to feel as good. These are small little things you can do. While you're sitting at your desk, you have a 7. You give yourself a 7. Get up and do one of those things, or take a stretch, take a walk. Move your body in some way. Change the physiology just a little bit. Turn to your neighbor, give them a high five. Tell them they're amazing. And then turn and tell your other neighbor. Okay. So I'm wrapping up here, but you can go ahead and have a seat. Thank you for participating. You're amazing. So when we tell people they're great, it just makes us feel good, right? And it's fun and it's connected. And that's what, to me, well-being is connecting our bodies, our brains, our minds, and our hearts, not only for ourselves, but then with each other. We're better together. So we're going to finish with a breathing technique called box breathing. Box breathing is something that was first developed by the Navy SEALs as they were going into mission critical assignments of which they could not pause. If they were supposed to do something and it didn't turn out the way they thought, they can't pause and think, well, I guess I'll go home and try again, right? They've got to figure out on the spot, without stress coming into their brain to limit or inhibit them, figure out how do they move forward and find that next best solution. Now I want you to think about, have you ever missed an exit when you're driving? Oh, I am the queen. And so when you're driving and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, what do you say to yourself? How could I do that? I say a lot of other things to myself sometimes too, right? How could I do that? And then you get yourself all worked up. You have to go 5 more miles. Now you're going to be late. Now you're all stressed and sweating. Then you're mad and yelling at the car next to you. How could you have missed that exit? They get stressed. They're going to go take that. By the time you get there, you're sweaty, stressed out, apologizing, and upset. Or you could be like your GPS system. It doesn't get upset. It doesn't have a mode. It's like rerouting. In fact, if you have one of those cool voices, like I always put mine in a British accent because it just makes me feel cooler. You do? See? It's rerouting. You know, I can't do accents, but it will tell me. It doesn't get upset with me. It just says, let's find the best next way to go, Julie. And so what if we could just do that for ourselves? Let's just find the best next way. Maybe it didn't work out the way we planned, but what's the best next thing I can do in this moment? That's the key. So this is the breath that the Navy SEALs developed. They then gave it to firefighters to use because same scenario. They used it, and then we all got this. So this is a really special trick, but it's really simple. You take a 4 breath in, 4 count hold, 4 count exhale, 4 count hold. Let's do it 3 times. Your blood pressure will release just in these 3 times. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, and 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, and last time, here we go. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, and 4. If you're really stressed, up to 10 cycles, but that will help. So in that moment, that resiliency strategy, you're above a 6, you take just a few breaths like that before you jump back into a conference call. Do you think that could work for you? Give it a go. When you smile, you create more serotonin and dopamine. You ever try walking? Do this. When I go to the airport, I will walk. And people think I'm kind of strange, but I don't care, because then they're like, they can't see. You look at somebody who's smiling, you can't not smile back. And they're like, all right. Kindness always makes everything better. If you think about how could I just go out of my way to make somebody else feel good today, it just always makes you feel good. All right, and then there are some other things I wanted you to know. When you move your body, however is good for you, I'm sure you all find someone that you follow on YouTube or that you've gone to, and if you haven't, I have great recommendations. You can always reach out to me. Just ways to stretch and move your body in ways that are meaningful for you. Some of us want to go flip upside down. Some of us want to go lie on a mat. There is actually a kind of yoga where you sleep. There are some people that is my kind of yoga, right? There's lots of things that we can do, but when we move our body or intentional, we just send a message to our brain that we're worthy of feeling good. When we massage ourselves, right here in between neck and shoulders, when we rub into that area, that place gets inflamed because we're sitting there and our vertebral column gets out of alignment and it's cutting off blood flow, and then the neck gets inflamed and then it cuts off blood flow to our brain and we get a little bit less clarity, we get frustrated, maybe we even get headaches. When we can massage that space there, it's wonderful. Also, the space in between the web, in between your index finger and your thumb, massaging that, maybe you're on a tough conference call, start massaging that. That has a pressure point that will also do a very similar thing and release. You can use other things like aromatherapies and other things that will help you. You find the things that are good for you, set yourself up. Now, at the beginning, what we did, that centering, that was a meditation. There's lots of different ones. If you don't practice meditation, it doesn't have to look or feel like the way you may be thinking meditation does. It could be taking a walk without your cell phone or putting it in your back pocket for safety reasons, but like don't text the whole time. Just enjoy the walk. It could be listening to a meditation. It could be is called loving kindness. It's wishing good for yourself and wishing good for those around you. Maybe sitting in a metta thought for a while. Maybe it's just practicing 10 deep breaths. All of these things are simple that we can do when we hit past that 6. So with that, I'm so grateful to share these tips with you. I hope that you will take one thing. I want you to turn to your neighbor right now as I come off stage, and I want you to tell your neighbor one thing that you think you could try the next time you hit a 7 and you help reset yourself to come back into what you do. All right, so thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your conference. Have a beautiful day.
Wow. So Julie, I'm going to do everything that you talked about. So thank you for that. So as we get ready to close, a couple of things I want to share with all of you. And that is that Julie reminded us of love, gratitude, and kindness. So thank you for that, Julie. I really appreciate that. And as I was listening to Carolina and Dr. Tam, first of all, I was just loving that exchange. A couple of things stuck out for me. The first one was let go of the bias of mental health of yesterday. And I agree with Dr. Tam. I'm so impressed with the Generation Z. I have one at home, and they're getting this right? They understand the power of being okay. The second thing is, Dr. Tam mentioned is let's be transparent with our teams and our people. That quote about, I'm feeling less than today. How are you doing? I think it opens up a conversation to just really be open and focused and transparent. The link between nutrition and mind performance, goodness, yes, I love dark chocolate, but I swear, I think when I eat, instead of making me happy, I think it makes me mad. I don't know. So I got to work on that one. You can't pour from an empty cup. And Dr. Tam challenged us with that. What is our mission? What's your mission? To reset, to recondition, and to recommit. So we have a mission here, not only what Julie said, but also what Dr. Tam said. And then I saw Ana Luisa that came on and talked about that whole thing that women experience, right? So Ana Luisa and anybody, I tell you, I'm one that talks about my hot flashes all the time. In the middle of meetings when I'm presenting, I say, pass me a glass of water. I do think there's no shame in that game. That is the reality of our journey as women. And we should be really open to talk about it and have those conversations because some women experience it more intense than others. So I think in the space of this journey of transparency and understanding the different dynamics of what we go through in our journey as women, I think it's important that we touch on all generational aspects of that. So I just want to say thank you to everybody. Enjoy the rest of the conference. And again, looking forward to the next time around, but you're all amazing. Let's make mental health a priority and let's be okay with talking about it. Thank you all. Have a good rest of the conference.